Awesome. Thank you so much. First of all, hi everyone. Welcome, Latinx and gaming community. I was reading the chat. Looks like we have folks from all over. We're really excited to be with you all today, especially to share some tips and tricks for portfolios, whether you're more seasoned in your career or you're first starting off and you're early in your career. Hopefully there's going to be something for everyone in this workshop. And so our goal is really to leave you with a better understanding of what creative portfolios at Riot look like. Again, whether you're early or mid-career, showcase a few strong examples of what those experience levels look like, and then offer a few tips and tricks from our seasoned Riot professionals in the room. We've also left plenty of room at the end for Q&A and kind of like an open dialogue. So that said, when we're presenting, please feel free to drop any of your questions in the chat. We're going to be collecting those questions and saving them for the very end of the presentation. And we'll go ahead and share those at the end. So to get us started, I would love to do a round of introductions so you get to know who we are. We're already getting to know a little bit more about who you are. So I'll start off. I'm Victoria Sanchez. I use she, her pronouns. For accessibility purposes, I have long dark brown hair, dark brown eyes, and I'm wearing a long dark shirt. So that said, I'm also a diversity inclusion program manager on the D&I team. And I'll be your moderator. So I'm going to pass the mic over to our rioters. So rioters, can you please introduce yourselves? Say your name, your preferred pronouns, a kind of brief physical description for accessibility purposes, and your current title.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go. My name is Vanessa Landeros. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm sorry, Victoria, what was that? What was the last question that I should answer?
No worries. So a brief physical description for accessibility purposes.
Yes. I am wearing a tan jacket because it's a little cold here in Los Angeles. And I have bleach blonde hair and I wear glasses that have clear frames. So that's me in a nutshell.
And Vanessa, your title.
Yes, I'm an animator for Valorant.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alejandro Rodriguez. I am a lead animator in Riot R&D, and I am originally from Venezuela. I am a big guy with dark hair and a dark beard, and very casual. But love having you all of you guys here, and hope that that we can give you some really nice information.
Hi, I'm Kate. I am the lead creative recruiter for the League of Legends franchise. I also work with Valorant and some of our R&D teams as well. I have blonde hair, blondish red hair, and blue eyes, and I'm wearing a gray shirt currently. Excited to chat with y'all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a university recruiter at Riot Games, so focused on recruiting students for Riot Summer Internship Program. I have long black hair, brown eyes, and I'm wearing a black Riot Games t-shirt with a big old fist bump on it, and excited to be back at Conexion this year.
Awesome. So now that you know who we are, we've already started to learn a little bit more about who you are, but we want to ask you a couple of more questions in the chat. So tell us in the chat if you're currently a student or a professional. So for our students, like what's your year and your major? For our professionals, kind of like what company are you representing or coming from? So feel free to drop that in the chat. Not a student. Okay. Game designer. We have a junior studying CS and Latin American studies. Awesome. Working at USC from Francisco. Excellent. A recent graduate, currently a freelance 3D modeler. Currently working at Apple part-time. Excellent. We have a CS student senior, freelance web dev, Cal Poly, CS in, we have so many different folks here, digital cinematography to game development. We have a concept artist and an illustrator. Excellent. Luis is working with influencers. For indie game companies, we have a recent CS graduate. Excellent, good. It sounds like we have a mixed bag of professionals and grads as well, and some who are currently enrolled. Awesome, game programmer and recent grad. Excellent. And how many of you have ever submitted or created your own creative portfolio before? Drop it into the chat. Do we have anyone who's ever created a portfolio? Still working on one? Excellent. Daniel dropped the link. Yes, excellent. What kinds of portfolios have you worked on before? For those that have. And for those that haven't or are still working on, what kinds of portfolios are you interested in kind of learning more about? We've got 3D prop design portfolio. Excellent. Some folks who need more projects. A personal website, started using ArtStation. Excellent. Rosalind says that they do character-centric work. We've got a dev portfolio, fantastic. Storyboarding portfolio, but I've changed my focus to production. Game designer, narrative designer portfolio, awesome. Social media and marketing, programmer portfolio, fantastic. So it looks like we have a wide range of folks in here. Game scripts, excellent. Love to hear it. Awesome. Okay, great. So hopefully for all of you in the room, there'll be a little bit of something for everyone because we have some fantastic writers that will speak to so many different areas, especially from the recruitment side of things as well. So now that we all know kind of like who we are in this space, and before I pass the mic over to our rioters, I wanted to take a moment to tell you a little bit more about Riot Games in kind of an interactive way. So if you bear with me, I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see this? Awesome. Okay. So who can tell me what Riot Games' mission is? Drop it in the chat. What is Riot Games' mission?
Is this a trick question for the employees as well?
Our employees, it's a trick question. All right, we have one folks in the chat who used to be the most player-focused company out there. Okay. Do we have anyone else? Bonus points if you can tell us when we were founded. (2012). Okay. Anyone else? All right. 26. Okay, excellent. Yep, you all got it. So our mission is to become the most player-focused company in the world, right? So we wanted to make it better to be a player, and we put our players at the center of every single decision that we make. And Stephen actually got it correct. We were founded in 2006. Great job. Okay, we have another one for you. In 2021, how many monthly players stepped into the world of Runeterra, whether they've played League of Legends, Wild Rift, Teamfight Tactics, and or the Legends of Runeterra? How many do we think monthly players would you guess? At least 10. Okay, 40K, 100 mil, all of them. Final answer. 60 million, 10 million. We're getting warmer. Any other guesses? 20 million. Okay, no one has gotten it so far. I'll give you another couple seconds. Definitely a lot, Donato says. It's 180 million monthly players, which is a ton. And we are still growing. Yes, 180 million monthly players. It's so many. And in fact, when we first started out, we had just released the League of Legends, but ever since then, we really expanded our portfolio into so many other incredible games, right? Teamfight Tactics, Wild Rift, the Legends of Runeterra, Valorant. We've even expanded our outreach into entertainment like Arcane. How many of you have ever played Riot's games before or have watched Arcane? Drop it into the chat. What is your favorite Riot game? Donato, KDA. Yes. I've consumed all forms of Riot media. Someone loves Arcane. Yes. Arcane, League of Legends, KDA, Hive Rise Up. I love it. Valorant all day. Yes. Played League of Legends, gold for like 3 seasons. Wow, that is incredible. I love it. I love to hear it. Finally, we have one last question, which is, what is the name, can anyone tell us, of our new story-driven single-player 2D action platform game that was just released? And you get bonus points if you can name the champion that's depicted in this photo. Wow, okay, great. Convergence, convergence, echo, echo, convergence, and it's echo, echo. Any other guesses? Okay, you all were right on. It's Convergence, a League of Legends story. We just released it and everyone got it right. It's Echo. Check it out. I'm excited to try it out, especially alongside my playing of Zelda. The last thing I wanted to say before I pass the mic over is to give a shout out to our rigs. How many of you have ever been a part of clubs or organizations at your school, or maybe at the company that you are working at, a part of an ERG or an employee resource group? So here at Riot, we refer to them lovingly as our rigs or our Riot inclusion groups. And really, these are just supportive communities that are based on shared goals that help members of the group create a sense of belonging and inclusion. So a few Rioters here today are actually a part of our rigs, and our partnership with Latinx in Gaming is led by our rig Unidos. So a huge shout out to them for leading and making this partnership possible. So that said, without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic over to Kate and Sam, who are going to give you a bird's eye view of kind of like the creative production line here at Riot and offer you some best tips and tricks for creative portfolio submission, especially if you're kind of like early career. So I will pass the mic over to you all, Kate and Sam.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Victoria. And hi, all again. Excited to chat with you a little bit more about the creative portfolios that we see every day, and a little bit about something that we like to call the creative production line. So if you want to go to the next slide for me, please. Perfect. So today we want to talk a little bit about the importance of a strong portfolio when you're applying to roles here at Riot or truly anywhere within the gaming industry. So as a lead creative recruiter, when I think of the art discipline specifically, I like to think of it as a factory line of incredible talent focused on producing work to achieve a common goal. So thankfully, I can actually put this into words because Bianca Nazari from Envar Entertainment, which shameless shout out to them. They're an incredible creative vendor partner that we actually work with quite frequently. They were able to put this production line analogy into a visual. So as a fellow creative, I know we all love a good visual. I hope this does help kind of envelop basically what it looks like when you're going through this process to create that final product. So when it comes to just the creative discipline as a whole, we know that everything has its own scope, skill set, and requirements. This can lead to a differing perspective on what a good portfolio looks like. So as this image shows, the way your art interconnects with other disciplines to create a finished project can help showcase your overarching understanding of the project itself. Your portfolio basically acts as the portal that a recruiter or a hiring team can look into to understand you as an artist. So authenticity, conceptual alignment, and creative voice are just some of the things we're looking for when we're reviewing your artwork for our positions. We want to hear what you have to say in the form of your visuals and feel the passion that you have surrounding it as well. So with that being said, Sam and I actually have some tips for you all when it comes to the themes and trends of a successful portfolio. So Victoria, if you want to go to the next slide. Perfect. So the biggest thing is going to be the setup. When we're talking about your portfolio, we really want your portfolios to be accessible. You're probably like, Kate, this is duh. Like, obviously, you want to be able to see it. But a lot of the time, you'd be shocked. People do not provide their passwords. They provide broken links, or your video got taken down by YouTube because they were just having a bad day, and now you no longer have a portfolio. So just make sure that it's accessible. Whatever platform you're utilizing, make sure that your work is clickable and up to date. The best portfolios are the ones that we can review. So make sure that it's not inaccessible in any way and check your work. Sometimes they do expire or the videos get taken down at no fault of your own. Make sure you have something on your hard drive to re-upload so that we can re-review. I'll pass it over to Sam for the next tip.
Thank you so much, Kate. So whether you're looking for an early career opportunity, mid-level opportunity, an internship, alignment is super important. So what do I mean by alignment? So I mean alignment for the particular opportunity and product that you're looking to join. So for example, Riot hires a lot of different kinds of creative roles. We're talking animation, concept art, VFX, 3D art, sound design, only to name a few. And the portfolios that capture the attention of recruiters like myself and Kate, as well as hiring managers, are portfolios that align with the specific job description, in particular Riot IP or product that they're applying for. So for example, coming from an internship perspective, application that will be stronger is one that perhaps has a portfolio that is specific for VFX. Maybe they have all VFX works that's included, rather than a portfolio that includes a lot of different kinds of art. It's a great demonstration of, breadth, but looking for that depth and that specificity is something that's really important to us. And then off to portfolio tip number 3, back with Kate.
Thank you so much. So the next tip that we have for you is around organization and clarity. So really making sure that everything is clarified in your portfolio to be able to showcase what we're looking for specifically. So clearly labeling the type of art that's in the portfolio, like Sam mentioned. Is it 3D? Is it concept? Is it illustration? I know, shout out to concept artists. Sometimes there's environment, sometimes there's character. Which one are you, if not both? So really making sure that we know which lane and route you're trying to head down so that we as recruiters as well can help you move towards that next step in your career. And then lastly, portfolios that are easy to follow. I love it when people have sections that break down their projects. Please, I don't need another wild goose chase. I have enough creatives internally I look after. Please make sure that your portfolios are succinct and easy to follow. The last thing I'll say on this point too, note how you and others contributed. I don't expect you to be a storyboard, a concept, a character, animator, VFX artist all wrapped up in one. Giving credit to other folks who helped you establish that final project is a huge win in our book, and collaboration is key to becoming a writer. So if you showcase that in your portfolio, you're already one step ahead of other applicants. And then I'll pass it back to Sam for tip number 4.
Thank you, Kate. And then, so talking a little bit about creativity and varieties of topics and themes. So when you're picking work to include in your portfolio, it can come from a variety of sources. So obviously there are folks that maybe have worked in creative roles before, either through a full-time role or an internship. Those are definitely appropriate for a portfolio. But also, are you working on a passion project on the weekend? Are you attending game jams? Are you participating in other kinds of collaborative game and creative spaces? Are you a student? You're in a game class, you're in a club. All of those kinds of things can be included in a portfolio as well. And also, again, want to double tap on, you don't need to have a portfolio that's just full of Riot IP. So by all means, don't feel that you have to only include work that is exclusive to, the particular products or the things that you see within Riot. Don't let that discourage you from submitting a portfolio that you've worked very hard to cultivate. And then on to Kate for tip number 5.
Thank you so much. So last but not least, it's detail, precision, and thought process. So all of these things are basically the how of your portfolio. So the portfolios that rise to the top obviously demonstrate the specific art that you're showing and your craft abilities. It's really important to be able to show your work. I know I sound like everyone's grade school teacher saying that, but making sure that you are conceptualizing to us what you're creating is so important, especially because it shows us the questions that we're already preparing to ask. So answers to the questions, I guess I should say. But this can include your concepts, your mock-ups, your reference images, very much your reference images that help us see where you were able to get to that, and also helps us understand your fundamentals specifically. So what have you actively worked on? What haven't you? And with Riot, this can gear towards like the hand painting of League of Legends or other sides of art as well. So I'll pass it to Sam for the final tip that we have for you.
So obviously, we're all very excited that you're here during the session, a place to ask us questions and to talk to us as recruiters, as well as some other creative folks that work at Riot. But these are, and I'm going to go ahead and drop these in the chat as well, are links to several resources that are available to folks just available on the internet. So I'm talking about video series about the different kinds of art and artists that are at Riot. I'm talking about the shout out to the RAT team. So the Riot animation team that's here, follow their Discord. They do live streams. They've got an awesome Twitter that you can follow on here, as well as other kinds of links and how-tos, best practices that are from the best minds at Riot. So here, let me go ahead. Let's drop this in here and make the spacing a little less chaotic. There it is. So feel free, open those up, save them, bookmark them in your other tabs outside of the Zoom window, and check them out after our session today. And then we can go to the next slide, Victoria. Awesome. So just a quick plug for any students that are in the audience, and we can go to the next slide. Riot offers a summer internship program. So for any students that are currently enrolled, so when I'm talking about our folks that are looking to graduate in spring of 2024 or later, you would be eligible to apply for Riot's next cycle or future cycles of the Riot internship program. So the internship program is hosted every summer. It's 12 weeks, and it is a paid internship opportunity for currently enrolled students. And the applications go live, for example, for summer 2024 on September 1st of this year. And so that is on the Riot Games University Program's website, September 1st. And so the applications go live in the beginning of September and close at the end of January of next year. And folks work on a variety of different projects, things that are often in the live production pipeline of many different projects and many different teams here at Riot. Let's go ahead to the next slide. So what do I mean by currently enrolled students? So these are folks that are enrolled in any kind of accredited academic program. And what that can mean, of course, is a four-year university, an associate's degree at a community college. It can be art courses or webinars from accredited universities. The kinds of things that wouldn't necessarily count are things available through kind of like LinkedIn and Coursera. But if you are enrolled in an accredited program, an accredited institution, that would be meeting the eligibility requirements for next summer. Next slide. And then talking a little bit, whether it's an internship role, but also for roles that are full-time at Riot or other video game companies as well, want to emphasize that there are two coins of the application, or two sides, excuse me, of the coins of the application. So there's first the craft skills that are exemplified through the portfolio that we're going to talk a little bit more today, but also being able to emphasize your communication and collaboration skills are equally important. So being able to demonstrate, yes, I am a great, individual contributor, maybe for this particular project, but how do you work in a pipeline of other folks with another group towards a shared goal? And then, of course, do you need to be good at video games? The answer is no. You don't have to be, professionally ranked to be a great employee, to be bought into the mission or a product or a team that you may be working on. So by all means, if you are down and aligned with the idea of, again, creating really awesome player experiences, that's the most important thing that we're looking for. Next slide. For the internship application in particular, again, kind of tapping on some of the things that Kate and I had already talked about, being able to include things like an up-to-date resume, portfolio, being able to answer the two application questions that we have for our internship program. One, just stating simply, why are you interested in the particular craft that you're looking to pursue, but also why are you interested in working at Riot Games? And that's just a good question to ask yourself for any kind of company that you're looking to apply to, whether it's for an internship opportunity or a full-time opportunity. Next slide. And then I will go ahead and drop a couple of more resources here in the chat. So one is a study guide that myself and one of my colleagues wrote last year that has all the best tips and tricks of how to best prepare an internship application, as well as a video that was created by one of our former VFX interns and is a little bit about his journey coming to Riot as well. And with that, I will pass it back to Vanessa.
Thanks, all. I'm going to be talking a little bit about what an animation portfolio looks like from an entry point standpoint, mainly talking about internship portfolios and also mid-level portfolios. In a nutshell, a strong game animation portfolio will include samples of character performances, walk cycles, runs, jumps, and various feats of body mechanics, showing your ability to bring characters to life and convey emotions through movement, mostly and preferably in a game setting or a game environment. For animation internships on Valorant, we care a lot about animators knowing proper body mechanics and their ability to bring a character to life. Elena, one of our most recent successful interns, hit these notes in her portfolio really well. As an intern, we don't expect you to know everything about game engines. We just want you to show enthusiasm and potential talent in your craft, at least from an animation standpoint. Victoria, if you could please play Elena's portfolio, that would be great.
All right, can everyone see this? Thumbs up, awesome.
Welcome to your new home. All right, we got food, water, tiny castle. Oh wait, a name. How about Goldie, Bruce, Bone Crusher, Bob? Ugh, I don't know. Oh, I know, Jeffrey. Jeffrey?
He drove out and all the way from Hartford just to ask me out.
Really? You going?
No.
Oh, good.
Good?
Yeah, I think it's good that you turned him down.
I'm very focused.
You're not even looking at me right now.
I thought I saw something shiny. It was nothing. It was a spoon. I saw the whole, it was just a spoon.
That was Elena, and you could see that she was kind enough to list everything that she worked on for each shot that she did, which is like a really nice detail. We don't always get that on an internship level, so we knew we had to catch her right away. We tried to offer her a job after, but unfortunately Disney snatched her up, so big rip, but we really enjoyed having her, and we were really fortunate to have such a talent. And I think we lost the slide, but it's okay. It's not too much of a visual. For mid-level animators, we have some different expectations. Hopefully by this stage, you're well-versed in making games with a couple of titles or companies under your belt, a strong understanding of mechanics and character performances as well, along with engine knowledge and basic familiarity on what to do in the game animation space. Sometimes if we're really curious about a candidate, we'll look at multiple reels to help us get like a nicer grasp of how well-rounded this candidate is. And our newest hire on Valorant really displayed things that we were looking for in a mid-level animator. And these following links both belong to Kaylee Choi.
Yeah, well, you hit the trifecta, didn't you? I mean, guns, drugs, money laundering. And the state of Arkansas is gonna rip the bark right off of you, boy. We are gonna put you in a 4x6 cell for the rest of your life.
You know, my abuelita used to make the most delicious jalapeno chocolate cake you ever had. It's a secret ingredient.
Jalapeno chocolate.
Sounds weird, but when you taste it, oh, it's so unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I wish you'd have called us before you reached out.
Called you? You wish I would have called you? You know I didn't call you, Justin? Because every time I throw you a pass, you bat it down, just like you're doing now.
I'm here to save you.
And that was Kaylee's character reel. which left us wanting for more, which was great because she actually has an entire other reel dedicated on a game where she was the sole animator on, and it's called Red Lantern.
Did you know you're about to venture into the vast expanse of the Alaskan wilderness? Let's find someone that complements your squirrel hunting obsessions. Maybe a calmer pup. So, we've been lost for, what, 3 days? I heard a rumor that over 2,000 people go missing in Alaska each year. Will I become one? A nightmare. Okay, well, at least I have an idea of what could happen to me out there. Just push through and do what you have to do. Got it. Okay, I know I barely have enough food for all of us, but that's part of the adventure, right? We're gonna find our food. We're gonna live off the land. Hey, you! So let's go. Let's get out there and live wildly. Live the life that feels true to us. All right, Chomper, you've got this.
So that was her gameplay reel. And needless to say, it was an entire game. So we had to interview her. And that's it for my segment. We hope that these examples kind of helped exemplify what we look for in gameplay animation portfolios. With that being said, I will be passing it off to my colleague from another project, Alejandro Rodriguez.
Thanks, Vanessa. No, that I had not seen those reels. They're really incredible. I really love them. So I'm taking over. I want to give a shout out to the incredible Megan Zavala. He was going to be talking a little bit about concept art here with you guys, but you got another animator. But I do want to talk a little bit about the relationship between concept art and animation, and something that that I particularly look for in any concept art that is going to be collaborating with the animation team. Victoria, I don't know if you have access to those ones. I wanted to get started on post sheets. Like, you might get noticed by your ability to finish a piece and creating really cool splash art like you see in League of Legends. But one of the important things to keep in mind is versatility in the concept art discipline. When you come into a team, a lot of times you're going to be expected as a concept artist to be the idea generation at a very early stage. And doing post sheets like this on abilities for the Valorant agents give animators such an amazing starting point to be able to start generating and start the juices flowing. And not only that, you're also helping the rigging team. You're helping the modeling team. You're helping set the stage for what is going to become a real asset in the game. So it is very important for you to not only showcase highly finished pieces and paintings, but also have a breadth of experience in thinking about designing abilities, designing guns, designing VFX, designing explosions, any little nugget or element that you see on art Twitter or Instagram that kind of catches your eye, think about picking it apart. Why is it a game that you like the way that it is? What would you do differently on that game? If you like animation, if you like characters, how would you redesign a character? I think that we live in an era where reboots are just like everywhere, but I always get a kick and really enjoy people's personal takes on characters. When people redesign Zelda and Link just because we are in Tears of the Kingdom territory, it's really fun to see, and it's very eye-catching on Twitter. And that is a very good gateway of bringing somebody into your portfolio and showcasing them how you are connected to the gaming world, how you're connected to putting your own personal take and spin on some of the pieces that are out there. If you go to the next to the other images, Victoria, I wanted this was another animator that just recently left Riot last year, Adam Turnbull, and Adam's superpower was that of taking concepts like this and just generating and expanding on it in the animation discipline and creating entire post sheets for a character as you're getting a feel for the rig. So now imagine you have just talked with the concept artist. You kind of know what the character is going to be. You get a first iteration of the character or rig. It can be a final model. It can be a proxy model. But you just take it and you start doing posing assignments on it just to get a feel for the character. Are the deformations correct? Are you able to give feedback to the rigger? Are you able to give deformation feedback to the modeler? And you, at the same time, you're creating a library for yourself to use later in the animation process. So it is very important, and the reason why I'm bringing it here is that both for concept art and animation portfolios, in your auxiliary elements, think of how you're part of the team. Tell a story about a process on how something is developed. Even when you're doing your final pieces, show me your value studies for the piece. Show me your sketches. Give me a time lapse on a GIF, if you're able to, about the process that you went through in order to create it. Because when you make it past recruiting and into a hiring manager, looking at the process and how this person goes about their art is a huge win for you. And the more you can get them say, oh, I see how they do, I see how they work, then I'm going to want to talk to you even more. And I'm going to want to expand on what I think you do by asking you even more questions. So that is what, as it pertains to concept art. I wanted to also break out a little bit, if you allow me a tangent, because I know that we have a few folks from computer science, engineering, and level design over in chat, is that I think the same principles apply, not so much in the art and what you create, but how you are part of a team. I originally was a computer science major before I became an animator. And part of that, and the story I want to tell is how that journey kind of informed what I became later on in my career. You're always think as a developer. It's what I can tell you, whether you're an artist, whether you're a CS, whether you're a level designer, you are a game developer first. And that connects with the notion that you're part of the team. So what is your role? What are you going to be assisting to the team? And be clear about it in your portfolio. That's why what the recommendation that we are giving you about being clear in what you contributed is so important, because it will tell us what that little piece and how you can contribute to the overall cog machine of everything. On the CS folks, it can be a tool that you invented for somebody to be able to integrate things faster. It can be as easy as a Blender little export script. It can be a Maya tool if you're versed on Python. It can be a little bit of a data processing table on Unreal or Unity. How are you able to expand on the UI and the capabilities of the engine in order to make some of the other folks on your team be more productive? All of that are very good skills to present. And if you're able to showcase pieces in your portfolio, especially as a CS, with little tools and little videos demonstrating what you do, will go a long way to make recruitment and hiring managers notice you. Finally, I wanted to expand on the notion of your portfolio as a journey. when you see these incredible portfolios that are present, some of them are very talented individuals that just have a lot of raw talent, or they have spent countless hours refining their craft. But don't feel that you're automatically going to be there, and think of where you want to be as a sort of staircase where I want to work for Riot. Okay, what projects do Riot make? Well, they do League of Legends. So maybe me as a character animator, when I wanted to be at Riot, I said, oh, I want to make different classes of characters. And I took like the different body type character for your character rigs. And like, oh, I'm going to make an archer, I'm going to make a bruiser, and I'm going to make a mage. And what are the ability sets of each one of those? And I started practicing with some of those things. And eventually I was not thinking about, this is the one to be the one that is going to get me to Riot. It's like, what skills do I need in order to make it into the champions team, for example? By the way, I did not make it to the champions team. But it's a process, and you have to be honest with yourself with what your skills are and what that stepping ladder is going to look like for you in order to get to those amazing portfolios eventually. And I wanted to give another shout out to an animator on my team, Alessandra Mota. The reason why we hired her, she was one of my first hires, is that she did a very incredible portfolio when the Aang rig from Avatar came out, and she randomly started saying like, "Oh, what if Aang was in League of Legends? Like, what little skills from Aang, like the ball, like what would they look like from the isometric camera? Like how would he walk if he had a league cycle?" And that was so intriguing to me that she was able to make that connection between a free rig and something that everybody was like doing little animations on Twitter and the job that she wanted, which was Riot. So try to merge those interests and try to think of your portfolio as a stepping ladder as you get towards your goals. And that's all I have to say for now. LTTstore.com.
With that said, I'd love to pass it over to Zaram to open up the Q&A for this portion. We have plenty of time to take your questions, and I know that we've already been kind of collecting your questions as well.
Yeah, just looking at the list here, we can start off with Donato, who said, thoughts on using incomplete game jam projects in a portfolio as opposed to something that's complete and out there?
I'll go ahead and take that, and then Kate, if you have additional thoughts, feel free to chime in as well. So I've had students or just folks in general ask me before, so I maybe had worked on this project, it's done, that was from 3 years ago. There's a project I'm working on right now that's not done, but is more reflective of my current skill set and my current place in my creative journey. So between those two, yes, please include the incomplete works, and kind of to what Kate and I were saying earlier, even showing us the iteration of like, can you show us what the beginning of that project looked like, the one that's not complete? So even though you don't have the final and finished product to show us, that probably is a better demonstration of where your actual skills are right now, rather than a finished project that you completed maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, I would completely agree with what you're saying, Sam. This also, especially if you're more in like the entry level to mid-level space too, can help you bypass an art test. So sometimes there are certain companies that will require you to art test if we feel like your work is outdated or not covering the areas that we need to know for the current role. So the more information that you can include is usually helpful. But just include what feels best, and like Sam said, is the best reflection of your current work.
I'm going on to the next question. We have a question from Jaden Yanes. When applying for non-artistic roles that aren't accompanied by portfolio, such as production, admin, L&D, is it better to add a few colors, artistic elements to a resume to stand out, or will that make the file trickier to get picked up by the ATS?
I actually have a good just insight into this. So I always encourage people, do the resume that you think reflects you the best. If you are creative, but you're not in a creative facing role and you still want to add a little bit of flair, absolutely do it. All you have to do is just Google basically a resume submission software. So you can actually put it through an ATS kind of software on Google. Please make sure that you have your like firewall and privacy on and things like that, so you're not just clicking on a weird spam link. But I'm sure I can get one that candidates have used in the past and send it over to y'all. that can actually help you see how your resume parses in the ATS. So if you do have something that's more creative, just file it through that software, see what's clickable and how we can Boolean search your resume, and then you can help kind of tailor from there. Because in some cases, yes, it will hurt you, but if you take those kind of precautionary steps, you can help yourself in that sense by still staying creative.
Cool. Thank you for your response. Daniel, sorry for pronouncing our names wrong. Hy-Vee says, how is a general trailer like this versus a more specific one for showing what you did? I think they're comparing having a full game out there as opposed to a general trailer of your assets and whatnot.
That's a good question. I mainly show those because the first thing that hooked us in for Kaylee was her initial character animation portfolio. There, she demonstrated enough skill and knowledge in her craft for us to go, okay, well, we know she's worked at video game companies in the past, so because we're looking at her portfolio, what else does she have to show for it? And that's when we also found this gameplay portfolio, which was extremely helpful for us to know that she has experience integrating assets, animation assets into a video game. So looking at both was extremely helpful, and we didn't mind that they were split out into two, really.
Okie dokies. Dayaba Artamirando says, is there any advice for writing portfolios? Sorry if this is already covered. They just hopped in the chat.
Narrative writing specific is what I'm assuming this is for. So I'm happy to answer this, and then Sam, I can always pass to you too for your assessment of the intern type ones too. Usually with writing portfolios, I would say the biggest accreditations that I look for are just people who have them into like succinct sections for their project. So not only having like those links to the different projects, but also showcasing kind of the overall thought process. So this is going to back to what I said originally, you know, what are your reference images that you're pulling from? What was your research? Who are your points of contact and things like that that you are working with? If you haven't done it that far, or say it's like fan fiction or something like that, that is totally fine as well. You can still put the links to the different games that maybe you're referencing or any of the fan art that you've pulled from, say, on ArtStation with credit to those proper artists. So that would probably be what I would say in a writing portfolio, and just put as much as you possibly can of your writing into that, and even your drafts that you've done, that can be helpful too. And then if you haven't worked in AAA, it's probably just going to be like fan fiction and drafting or schoolwork. So again, just including as much as you can. But Sam, anything to add on that side?
For sure. No, I think that was a really wonderful capture of narrative writing in particular. Another kind of like offshoot of this, I'll just do a quick plug for the internship program. We also have had technical writers in our program as well. So with that lens, just advising best practices about considering who your audience is. So for example, with technical writers, it's folks that understand perhaps the mechanics of a game, whether it's, you know, programming code, it's game design, and being able to digest that for some other kind of audience. So whether that's executive leadership, is that a creative team? Like, who are you writing this for? And what kind of information are you trying to digest to make it understandable to the particular audience that you're writing for? So just that bit of advice and information as well.
Thank you. Shalini Inakaran says, I know it's a hard question to answer, but how many projects should be shown in a portfolio for internships or entry-level positions? I feel like I have a difficult time balancing quality versus quantity.
I can chime in at least right for animation, always quality, always go for the best things you have to show. And if that's, you know, just a couple things, that's really fine. I mean, like for us to see, we would probably ask for a test at that point if we wanted to see more, but definitely always choose quality over quantity. I know I'm only talking about animation, but if anyone else has any experiences where there's kind of like this gray area, please chime in.
a +1 to that. It's something where, again, kind of going back to what we were talking about kind of throughout this presentation, if you have one example, but if you can deep dive into that example and show us every single step, like show us what was the ask, what was your brainstorm, what were the kinds of poses and actions that you were having for your particular project, and why did you choose one versus the other? What was the color scheme? Why did you choose that? Is it because of the the console? Is it because of the platform? Who's the audience? Who are the players that you're looking to capture? If you can get like really granular in it, that is definitely enough to fill out a portfolio or talk about during a craft interview or something of that nature.
Yeah, I agree as well. Like, I mostly look at animation portfolios, but I'll be happy looking at a more quality 30-second portfolio than like a 3-minute portfolio that has just way too many things that might not be useful for me to make a determination. So yeah, like always go quality over quantity. Try to be very picky. Get feedback about your portfolio. Like post it. There's a lot of resources online and Discord channels and everything. Try to look for a community like the Rat. Like I know we're talking mostly animation, but like we do streams like every once in a while. They have like a wonderful community there of people that I'm sure can give you feedback on your portfolio.
Sweet, thank you. Next question we have from Ana Miguel Hierro. Dice, hi, thanks you guys for taking the time. What would you guys look for on a prop and environment portfolio? What elements you think help a 3D portfolio stand out? Similar to what Alejandro mentioned in animation.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to this side of things. So I would say when it comes to just a 3D environment or 3D prop portfolio, when I'm thinking league specific, the biggest thing is going to be kind of like those isometric drawings. Like when I'm looking at the hand painted aspects and things, and I actually want to put someone in the chat if that's okay. So I want to drop, I know you said 3D. I'm going to drop a 2D artist just because this is who comes to mind. But I'm going to drop one of our senior concept artists, Igor Artyumenko. I would say when I'm looking at his portfolio, Igor is truly what I look for when it comes to environment, not only the conception of what he does, but truly just the layering of his physical art itself is something that I find to be so impressive. I would say when you're starting out, if you're a little bit newer in your portfolio for proper environment, especially in 3D, definitely put the reference images, and I swear I keep saying reference images, but I promise it's just so helpful for us to see that of what you're going for. So where have you pulled from? And even if you're pulling from Rioters' past work too, and looking at the things that they have done, pulling those as references, giving them the credit and kind of looking into that, I would say that that is super helpful. But any type of layering that you're able to show, any type of insight into the scope of the environment that you're looking to cast, but also in Riot, and I'll reference League again, looking a little bit into our actual physical depictions. You know, League is overarching when it comes to the look of the game itself. Do you want to do that? Do you want to do more of a POV environment scope? Kind of casting that wide net of different ranges too can also help people understand, you know, where you're going within your 3D craft. If anybody else wants to add anything, I know I'm talking very league, so feel free to do other.
All right, Team League it is. Moving on with David Ornelas, que dice, for writing portfolios, I have a website that is more visual but harder to navigate, and a Google Drive link that takes you to the actual documents, such as spreadsheets, dialogue bar, etc. Do you have any advice on what is preferred to use when applying a job?
Well, again, coming in from the artistic perspective, I'd say the easier, the better. Animation is fairly simple. We just want a link to your reel, and if that's a Vimeo link or a YouTube link, as long as it works and it's easy and just like one click, really good. Perfect. I know some people do have websites sometimes, and that's fine. But if it's hard to navigate to, I would just kind of reevaluate that just to kind of make sure that your layout is as easy peasy as possible so people just have ease of access.
a +1 to the number of clicks. Like, so if it takes 6 clicks to get to a piece that you really want to show, that's 6 clicks of barrier between the launch of, a clickable link from your ArtStation or from your, resume or what have you. So reducing the number of clicks, but also being able to make the call out. Not everyone has the resources or is confident in being able to maintain, for example, like a website or an ArtStation. Like, there are lots of tools and things that are available that are free, that are a little bit more user-friendly. If it's in your space and you feel comfortable that, like, the Google Apps is your happy place and that's where you live, by all means, be there. If you're confident that you can continue to keep yourself accountable for updating the content that's in there, rather than maybe being less confident in updating a website because you don't know how to manage the backend or kind of upload new pieces and it's preventing you from keeping that updated. Just do whatever is most comfortable for you and most accessible for you.
And also, I want to add, think of the medium also. Like, for example, if you're linking an animation portfolio, but you're giving me an Instagram link, I cannot pause and frame by frame your Instagram like a GIF. So think about how the viewer is going to receive that. So like Instagram might be better for like concept art, for example, where it still would be better if it was ArtStation or something like that. But just think about how the person on the other side is going to consume your media.
I never thought about that. That was a very good answer. Thank you. Another question from Luis Alfieri, que dice, does location impact making it through the application process? I currently live in Florida, but would be down to relocate anywhere to work with Riot.
Yes. So currently, I will say, due to Riot's hybrid structure, it does impact your application with us specifically. Other companies, potentially, depending on their hybrid work schedule, but as of right now, Riot does require you to live either in the Washington or California state areas, depending on if you're assigned to Bellevue or if you're assigned to Los Angeles. We do have St. Louis, shout out to, which I won't forget. But we do provide a pretty hefty white glove relocation package if you do receive an offer from Riot Games. So I relocated here from Chicago last year, and I will say I paid nothing out of pocket. So they have an amazing accommodation for that. So if you are selected, we will relocate you here. You just have to be willing to relocate.
I will add as well to that with our internship program, prior to the pandemic, it was in person, and we would house all of our interns here in Los Angeles for 3 months for the entirety of that 12-week internship experience. Caveat, so since 2020, our internship has been remote, but because of that, we have been able to open up the application process to a much, much wider audience. And so people from all over the United States, all over the world can participate in our internship remotely from those different locations as well. So that doesn't bar folks from participating in going through that interview process and ultimately being made an offer if that's the route that a student wants to go.
All right, thank you. Irvin Ramos asks, I'm just going to read this straight as is. For technical animators, how was the balance between the two ideas of implementation and tools design versus the skill in animating? I've considered in the past, I have a few texturing scripts in GIMP, Maya scripts I've written, etc., and a few animations I've made myself. But the creative animations are nowhere near the level of portfolios I've seen. Is leaning more on the technical aspects a good aim for technical animation positions?
You want to take this one, Vanessa, or should I?
Well, I think if you have direct experience with a technical animator, I'd say go for it. Because my experience mainly lies with technical artists who come from varying backgrounds, and some of them were animators. But please take the floor if you have specifics to that.
Yeah, I'll speak to my experience. I was originally considering this earlier in my career as well, and I have worked with technical animators in the past. I will say that based on what you're asking, it sounds to me like if your expertise lies more in tool making in the technical aspect of it, I think that looking into tech art positions is a much better fit because technical animators are still expected to animate. Technical animators usually just have a lot more to do with engine mechanics and integration as part of their overall skill set. They're very good at, although I expect this also of like more mid and senior animators, very good with state machines, with engine representation, blends, blueprints. By blueprints is like the visual programming guides that you have in Unreal, but all of those are skills that blend together. If your animation base is not as strong as what you have been seeing or comparable in that ballpark, I would definitely look into that tech art discipline because that requires knowledge, but not animation per se.
Right. And just to add on to that, I absolutely work with technical artists today that were once animators but made the full switch to tech art, and they help us with rigging, with integration, blueprints, things like that. And don't get me wrong, them having knowledge in animation is extremely helpful for them understanding what we need as animators to accomplish that in Engine. So I think it's great that you practice animation or you dabble in it, but if you absolutely go for tech art, if that would be sort of what I would think if you're leaning more into the technical side.
All right, moving on to Alejandro Sandoval's question. Another writing question says, would Riot rather see game scripts or scenes from finished game jams? And any other advice for a narrative writer interested in working in AAA?
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one as well. So I would say both is great. Like if you do have finished scenes and everything from a game, please do include that so that we do get context of the scripts that you've written. And then you can also outline underneath the video or clip or whatever it may be, how you contributed to such. I will also say if you don't have that or you don't have scripts too, we do have a person over on Valorant that we hired recently, actually. Their name is Antoinette. Antoinette was hired and had an incredible portfolio, not a ton of working games, but they actually were able to write some fan fiction about Riot Games, and they made such an impact on the narrative team that they were able to come in as an associate writer, and they are now killing the game. They're absolutely incredible. So I'm actually going to drop their Twitter in the chat, and y'all can look at their links, kind of see what their portfolio look like. But I would say anything that you have is great, not required for you to put everything. But again, I think we go back to the more information, the better, the less questions we'll have, the less we'll need to continue to press and pry for.
All right, 4 more minutes for questions. Santiago Levy asks, are there any unconventional skills or experiences that you believe could set a junior artist apart from the competition?
I think that that's a hard one to answer because my usual recommendation with an artist, like say like a more mid to senior level artist, is to think of your secondary discipline as a differentiating factor and what else you can bring into a pipeline team. However, that is not the same case for a early or entry level artist. Like at that point, because you have to be the expectations of your team are more around your core craft. I don't think that is a good idea. You should always focus on your core discipline first.
I'll chime in and also emphasize the emphasis about communication and collaboration as a skill. So of course, being able to focus on your main craft, maybe a secondary craft underneath that, that's only part of the interview process, whether that's for an internship position at Riot Games or the full-time process. So being able to describe to folks instances where you have, again, collaborated with other folks, maybe for a short amount of time, like a game jam, or a long period of time towards that shared goal. What were your individual contributions and how did it help get to that shared goal with that group?
All right, and maybe we'll squeeze in 2 more questions, but definitely this next one. What does Riot look for in character art portfolios? What do you think would make it stand out?
Yeah, I would say when I'm looking at a character art portfolio, the biggest things I'm looking for are kind of like the modeling. Sometimes, depending on the team that I'm looking for, whether it's gameplay or our pie team, which is going to be more so of like that skins and turntable side of things, that's going to be, you know, how did you come up with the imaging, the anatomy of this individual, looking a little bit more into the, you know, either bodice of the person or what kind of skin are they wearing. Also, the texture of the individual themselves. Is it realistic? It kind of depends on what kind of art you're going for. And I'm just going to keep apologizing that I keep referencing League, but when I'm looking at 3D character art portfolios too, how do they kind of assimilate into the rest of the game? You know, would it be a realistic person that would be able to go into the product themselves? And how do they kind of adapt into the overarching environment? But a lot of it going back is going to look at those modeling characteristics, their overarching anatomy, and just also the proportions themselves too, making sure that they're accurate overall. So you don't want like a 10-foot long torso with like a tiny little head.
All right, and last question from Diego Felipe Alcala Suarez, que dice, for a programmer, be it mechanics or characters or enemies, what is the portfolio like and where would it be best reflected? I currently use itch.io to take small videos on my mechanics and my enemies.
I have actually seen videos from itch.io and programming portfolios before in smaller companies, not at Riot specifically. But I think that same as with everything, have stuff in your resume and have a link there on your resume that links to that to those additional resources to make the recruiter aware that that is a material that should be passed on to the hiring manager. Your most likely your resume will catch their eye due to the skill set and how you're doing that information. But then that additional thing can be put in as auxiliary materials.
And then I'll chime in on that one. I've read that a lot of programming portfolios just put your game on itch.io, tell them what you worked on, and then have the recruiters download and play the game. I think that's the best way for programmers specifically. And with that, we'll pass it down to Victoria Sanchez.
Awesome. Well, we have about a couple more minutes left, about 4 minutes. And I just want to say thank you all so much for joining us. Huge shout out to also our rioters who are here with us today and shared their wisdom and tips. Please stay connected with us. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we have all of our QR codes with our LinkedIn profiles. Connect with us on LinkedIn and keep the conversations going. I'll share my screen, so feel free to just take a screenshot of this once you see it on your end. Here are all of our LinkedIn profiles.
I will also selfishly plug that I don't know about Kate, but me as a university recruiter, I get a lot of messages and a lot of connection requests. If you put a message in your connection request saying, you know, just say Conexion or say let get X in gaming or portfolio workshop, something like that, that'll help me parse through and accept all the folks that are here today and kind of against the other kind of like business requests and things that I also get in my LinkedIn. And that's actually just kind of a good piece of advice for any kind of LinkedIn request or message that you send out to folks.
Yes, that's excellent, Sam, an excellent tip. And the last thing I'll say too is that we have a very short survey for you to fill out if you can. I'm going to drop that into the chat in just a moment. This will help us better design future workshops about portfolio reviews and will help us stay connected with you all for future programming that we run and the DNI team. So that said, I'll drop that into the chat. Did everyone pretty much get the screenshot for the LinkedIn QR codes? Okay, awesome. I'm going to stop sharing. And I will drop the survey in the chat. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any last minute comments or thoughts, feel free to drop them in the chat now. We'll be here for another 2 minutes. Oh, Andres has a last question. Sure. Andres asked, for programmers, do you recommend using itch.io to show our mechanics or in another website?
Kind of similar to perhaps the answer that we gave earlier, whatever works best for you. So whatever you worked on, whatever is easiest to navigate for the widest variety of devices, browsers that folks may be using. So whatever is easiest to access. There isn't a preference. There's no kind of like indication of skill or proficiency of one platform versus another, at least from what I've seen.
Victoria, the access to the document says that they need permission to access the survey.
I will go ahead and grant everyone permissions right after this workshop. I apologize for that.
Perfect.
So
And
we'll
then,
soon have access.
and yes, there'll be a recording on YouTube by today of this panel. Other than that, Victoria, is there
I was
anything
just
else?
going to say, happy to connect with folks who will be at our networking mixer tomorrow at Riot. I know a couple of you will be there as well. So we'll see those of you there tomorrow.
Or anyone who might be at the virtual career fair tomorrow morning. Kate and I will be there at different times, but if you want to chat to us more, we'll be there tomorrow as well.